Well, welcome back. You're still watching Akwaba, proudly brought to you by Fut-Afrique. We're talking all things the Africa Cup of Nations that tonight is set to kick off out in Cote. Now, with Brian, we've spoken about the perceptions around the competition, the cities that are set to host the competition, and now let's dive into all the action that we are set to witness. And who better to do it with than with Jess? How do you like the new set?
I love it. It's so amazing. Like, I feel like we are in the atmosphere. Like, the ambience is just aligning.
Yeah. But with great things comes great change.
We are finally here.
We are finally here, Jess. Finally, the Afcon kicks off today. Cote and Guinea-Bissau play the first game. Obviously, we spoke with Brian. We said this is a very high-pressure game. What's your perception always on match day one, especially because host nation plays the first game?
I think that Brian always speaks about the importance of making sure that you collect the points on the first game, because I think that sets you for the rest of the tournament. And I think everybody goes in hoping to collect the maximum points that they can. However, I feel like nerves are just embodying everybody at that particular moment. Some teams are facing each other for the very first time.
Yes.
Some teams are actually making their return after such a long time, you know. So it's always, you know, a touch and go situation and teams really trying to perform. And sometimes in the locker room, the discussions are making sense. Yeah. The starting lineup is making sense. Everything in training is making sense. However, when it comes to the game, when that final whistle, when that whistle goes for kick-off, things just play out differently. Yeah. So I think it's nerves throughout, but all the teams are obviously trying to give it, you know, their best to make sure that they collect those points in the first game.
That's one thing that we love about the beautiful game. And you at home, just to remind you that all the 24 teams that are competing within this competition have been at the Afcon before. Yeah. So we don't have any debutants. Everyone is a been there, done that.
Yeah.
Hello, we're back.
We are returning.
Let's talk about South Africa.
Yes. Whew. You know, I was listening to Ndate Brian Mofokeng actually talking about this, about how some of these teams have such great legs, very important players that are making runs, that are trending. However, when it comes to the national team, you don't always have the best team.
Yeah.
It's a weird science to figure out.
It really is, but I think it's also just the gelling together of your local players and your international players, right?
Yes.
I mean, for instance, the Afcon kicks off today, but certain teams only went into camp last week.
100%. So they've never had really enough time for them to gel and understand their combinations, for them to actually start, you know, delivering those results on the field of play. So it becomes very difficult. If we're looking at the Bafana that we have, I mentioned this in our last show, it's a very different squad than we've seen from the past, you know. Hugo came in and said, I'm changing this whole setup. These are the players that I'm going to bring. And if we're identifying players from Mamelodi Sundowns, just to make an example, you know, we know that they are dominating within the interclub spaces.
Yeah.
Will they still continue to dominate with the rest of the other components that have been put together with them to deliver? And South Africa is a team that I think has great legs, but when it comes to the performance, they don't really deliver that much. We've won it in 1996. We're just hoping that even if we don't win it again, we can advance.
Why is there even if, Jess?
No, we have to be realistic. I love the fact that I want to be positive, but I also want to be realistic, because we know that there are strong teams.
We haven't been there for a long time.
We haven't been there for a long time. And looking at the other teams that have international players that are playing in Leicester City, that are playing in Tottenham Hotspurs, they're bringing in a different style of play that we don't have. So they always have a bit of an advantage when it comes to other
that's
countries.
Only if they gel with their teams.
Sometimes they do come with an advantage. They have a little bit of an upper hand. So we want to be realistic and saying we love South Africa, we love Bafana. We'd absolutely love to lift the trophy. I mean, the youth, you know, the Gen Zs would love to see Bafana lifting the trophy. But we want to be realistic in saying that however the squad is looking great in terms of the players, can they really deliver as a unit? And you've said some people are coming late into camp, so there's not enough time for them to deliver. They're playing against Mali.
Let's talk about Mali. Mali, obviously a team that a lot of people overlook, but really a team that has the potential to cause massive upsets.
And there's always danger in the teams that everybody's always overlooking. I'm referencing that Brian Mofokeng a lot today, because, you know, he spoke about, you know, there's not a lot of pressure for the teams that people are not really looking at. And those are actually the teams that end up performing and surprising
the teams where you're
everybody.
supposed to collect the 3 points
From, and then they give you a tough time. So Mali is sitting in the situation where they're probably the team that's not really looked at. But we don't forget that they were actually runners-up before. And if you've tasted it before, you're obviously trying to taste it again and probably advance from where you were.
So wait, if you've tasted it before, are you saying teams like Namibia, you can't crave what you don't know?
But you also want to chill with the boys. You want to bamba. No way, because now you've seen other teams celebrating. No, but you've witnessed it. Other teams lifting the trophy. You suffer well, and I mean, you want to also put your country on the map in conversation, bragging rights, street cred, right? To also say you've made it there. So I definitely think Mali is going to try their level best, but against Bafana, I think it's going to be a little bit of an easy one.
Give me a winner between the two.
I must give you
a winner.
Not to be
I'm
biased.
not going to judge you.
You already do all the time with Mauritania. I think Bafana.
Okay,
for
a victory before Bafana.
Yeah.
Namibia go up against Tunisia. The conversation that I've been having, obviously, is Namibia are the dark horses within this competition because when you look at the group in itself, they're the lowest ranked team, right? But when it comes to Tunisia, I feel like they are a squad that have failed with successive planning, right? So you have players who've been there years before, and I'm not saying they're old, they just started young, and I think the team just didn't have a plan as to how we're going to integrate new players so that when these ones become of like 33, you know, like your Maluls, do you understand? How do we balance everything? Tell me about how you see that one playing out.
So I think Tunisia comes again into this game with a little bit of advantage. I think experience plays a huge role. We've seen, make an example with the World Cup, you know, when you get your African teams and they're playing against, teams that have been participating in the World Cup longer. It's not to say that the African teams are underperforming. However, I feel like the experience of playing on such a magnitude stage, compared to not being there most of the time, it plays a hand. Tunisia have been winning it before. I think they stand at a good advantage. And when we're looking at Namibia, goes back to the same thing. Your Shaluliles are there, your Hotas are there, the good players are there, but can they really do it?
I'm excited to see Namibia and South Africa go head to head.
That is a match
that one
I'm actually looking forward to seeing.
Okay.
Sundowns versus Sundowns.
Okay. Well, let the games begin and let the best team win.